The Flex Editor contains a variety of brand new features. Let's take a tour through the interface and discuss what everything does. To start, let's jump into this Flex section, and immediately you'll notice we have some options around the sides of the builder as well as the top. Now, starting at the top, and possibly the most important aspect of working in Flex, is the Breakpoint selection bar. The Breakpoint selection bar exists to show you what your site will look like at different sizes. The first icon, the one with the crown, is called the desktop, but it's also the main breakpoint. So changes on this layout will affect all breakpoints and can be overridden per breakpoint. That said, this breakpoint is your main breakpoint and the one that you'll want to do the majority of your work on. Each breakpoint below that is for doing device or screen size specific edits. So if you hover over each breakpoint button, you can see it will tell you which device layout it will affect, as well as the screen size that layout will be displayed on. Hovering over the tablet breakpoint as I am here, we can see it says tablet, as well as that this breakpoint will be displayed on devices with a viewport between 768 and 1024 pixels, which is pretty much all standard size tablets. I can click on that breakpoint, and now I am editing the tablet breakpoint, and any edits I make now will be specific to this breakpoint and won't affect the other desktop and mobile layouts. Now, at some point, you are bound to make some changes to the site while not being on the main breakpoint, the icon with the crown. This is just something that happens to us all, so you'll want to make sure you get into the habit of making sure that you click that main breakpoint layout before making any significant site changes. If major changes are made outside of the main breakpoint, then you'll simply need to go through each breakpoint individually to edit and style the content for that specific device layout. Next, here on the left side, we have our layers panel. Now, if you don't see this panel, that's okay. It may be closed for you by default, as it is for me. And to open that panel, we simply click the layers panel on the left sidebar here. Now, the question may be asked, why do we need a layers panel in Flex? And that's a great question. So the reason for this is that because while working in Flex, there will be a variety of containers and boxes in Flex that hold content. And sometimes when you have a lot of content within those, it's very difficult to grab the containing or parent elements. For example, we have this content here in this Flex column. Now, at some point, you may need to make changes to the Flex column itself, but it's difficult to grab that Flex column with all the content inside. So if we click on an element within the Flex column in the builder, and then we come over to the Layers panel, we can see that that element we selected is bold. But if we wanted to select the Flex column itself, we could then click on the column within the Layers panel and now make edits to that specific column using the design options on the right side. Additionally, if we take a look at the Layers panel, we can see all the content that lives within that column in the Flex section as well. We can also rename any layer, which is a great way to keep the layer panel organized if you have a lot of content. So we can double click any element in the layers panel and rename it. We can also use the eyeball icon on the right hand side to hide that specific layer on that specific device. As I click through the various layers, you can see that the design panel on the right side of the screen changes, and you can think of the right side as your design panel throughout Flex. So if I select a Flex column, we can see on the right it says Flex Column Design. And I have various alignment options and design options. However, if I click on something else, I don't always have the same options. This side is going to always change depending on what I click on. Another item to note is this floating quick selection bar. This guy will become your best friend when working in Flex. This bar gives you quick access to various options depending on the type of element you have selected. The options in this bar will change for each type of content that you have selected, and every option has a nice tooltip that appears if you hover the icon, so you can know exactly what each option does. For example, if we select the flex column, we can see that we have the options for the design button, for opening the design panel if it's closed, adding new widgets from the widgets panel using the plus icon, duplicate the column, reset padding, alignment options, delete, and the three dots, which gives us the options to add a new column, copy, set as anchor, and hide on this device. However, if we want to select the text next, we'll see many of the same options in the quick selection bar, with some noticeable changes being edit text, which will bring up the text editor, rearrange the text up and down within the column using the move up and move down arrows. And one nice feature of the quick selection bar, which you may have noticed me do already, is that you can drag the bar around the page and place it wherever you'd like, so it's never in the way while editing content. So to do this, you simply click and drag the three vertical dots on the left side of the bar. Okay, so now let's take a look at the options on the right side of the screen, the design panel. This is where you will edit the design of your flex sections, columns, and widgets. And if you're familiar with the design panel for elements in the non-flex editor, then this essentially is that, but with a few noticeable differences. The main noticeable difference is the alignment tab, which will give you different alignment options based on the content you've selected. So here we have a text block, and we see we have our standard left, right, center alignment options. We also have a stretch option, which will force the widget to stretch the full width of the container. But if we select the flex column, we see we now have various alignment options for horizontal, vertical, as well as a stacking direction, which will determine how the content within the flex column will be automatically ordered. The other main noticeable difference is the ability to use different sizing values such as pixels, percentages, viewport height, or viewport width, as well as some widget design options that allow you to use the auto value. To select which value you wish to use, you can simply click the percentage icon and use that drop down. Sometimes this will also be a pixel PX icon, and it will do the same thing. And that's it for the Flex Editor tour and how to navigate through the Flex Builder. Next up, we'll learn about the containing elements for content, sections, columns, and flex boxes, the differences between them, and when you would use one over the other.